Good Friday afternoon to you, 4 o'clock time for Sports4CLE. Thanks for joining us. Hope your weekend is off to a great start. Things not ideal for the Browns out in Berea as Deshaun Watson listed as questionable for the game Sunday. Take a look. This is the play where he got banged up with his throwing shoulder. A big run that was late in the first half against the Titans. Continued to play and has had a sore shoulder. Hasn't thrown much all week in practice as he takes a big hit on his throwing shoulder. And as I mentioned, Mary Kay Cabot tweets out, Deshaun Watson now listed as questionable with a shoulder injury for the Ravens game Sunday at 1 o'clock. Kevin Stefanski was asked, does he think his quarterback, Watson, will be able to go Sunday?
I'm hopeful.
Kevin, was he able to throw after we left today?
Light throwing. Light.
Is this much worse than you guys may have thought it was after the game? Or were you when you
Yeah, I think with any injury, I think you're best served treating them day by day. And that's just what we're doing.
Kevin, it looked like he was wearing something, brace or something on that shoulder. Is that correct?
He'll have something there, yes.
Does it stem from the one hit in the red zone, or was this like an accumulation?
Yeah, I think it was the one play in the red zone, yes.
if DTR has to start this game based on what you've seen every day in practice and in preseason, how would you feel about
Yeah,
that?
all of our backups have to be ready to play. It's just the life of a backup, quarterback, backup, linebacker, backup, anything. You have to prepare yourself to play. And he's prepared just like everybody else. You got to be ready to play.
Right.
I think with any backup, Mary Kay, you really want to make sure that they're prepared to run the game plan as it is. And it's coaches' jobs to put the game plan together and then call it accordingly. But your backup quarterback is ready to execute your game plan.
What about the fact that Watson just never misses games with injury? He's one of those warrior guys, and it's just, you talked about his toughness after the last game. I'm guessing that he'll do anything he possibly can to get out.
He will, and he's been getting, taking care of his body. He knows his body, so that's why I'm hopeful.
With that, let's welcome in G. Bush, 92.3 The Fans, the Barbershop, as well as the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. And G. Bush, hopeful does not excite me for my starting quarterback in an AFC North game.
Yeah, we were actually on air at the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show when it kind of came down that Deshaun Watson was having some trouble throwing the football. According to Mary Kay Cabot, threw a couple of passes. Zach Jackson, an Athletic, also reported that he threw a few passes and immediately went over to talk to the trainer. He has not been doing any really big-time throwing, light throwing, and he didn't participate in any of the goal line packages. From that point forward in practices, obviously DTR took the rest of the 100% of the snaps. It's unfortunate. He's downgraded to questionable, but I do think that he'll do everything possible in his power to kind of get out there and make sure he, is going to throw the football. Isn't it quite ironic? Just seems like about a year ago or 2 years ago where, we're talking about the same type of thing with Baker Mayfield. Went to tackle somebody, after an interception against the Cardinals. That injury lingered on throughout the rest of the season. Obviously, Baker did not perform the way he wanted to, and he was no longer here. Now, that was his opposite shoulder, right? That wasn't his throwing shoulder. This is Deshaun Watson's throwing shoulder. So, just kind of the same way that we're dealing with this. Hopefully, it's a thing that is not as bad as we think. But Joe Burrow has been going through the whole situation as well with his situation with his calf. And it's just like a shoulder. You're going to continue to use that shoulder. You're going to be asked to throw the ball and push the ball downfield. I'll be anxious to see what type of the game plan is. Is it going to be a more vertical passing attack, or is it going to be, if he does play, is he able to throw quick, 3 steps drops, get the ball screens and stuff like that? However, I would also be anxious to look forward to seeing how often now Deshaun Watson has designed quarterback runs. because Kevin Stefanski did admit that the play he was injured on, that was a quarterback power play. That was a play that was called for him in the goal line area, in the goal line situation. So now are they going to be a little more apprehensive and cautious in letting him run the football, especially when it comes to quarterback designed runs moving forward?
Yeah, so if he's unable to go, Dorian Thompson-Robinson will get his first NFL start against the Ravens on Sunday. DTR talked about that.
Shoot, I'm ready for it. Very confident in my preparation for the week and everything that the coaches have handed me with practice reps and all that. So it's just a normal week for me, like it's been since I got here. I'm trying to take it play by play, snap by snap, and making sure that I get the guys around me organized and I'm not all over the place and making sure that they're good.
So two things, G. Bush. Got to take a lot of the practice snaps, almost all of them. That's a good thing. Does the fact that the Browns have a bye after that, does that factor? Do you think it factors into the decision of whether you play Watson?
I actually think it does. I was talking to Adam the Bull, and I say, look, if you're looking at the situation where you got a bye week coming up, you're going into a game against San Francisco, and on top of that, it may look like not Cincinnati Bengals, but the Baltimore Ravens are banged up. They got 6 guys, including their left tackle, Ronnie Stanley didn't practice today. They're already shorthanded with J.K. Dobbins. Odell Beckham Jr. has not practiced all week. Marlon Humphreys has not practiced all week. So they actually picked up Kyle Van Noy, and he was, not on a roster. They picked him up to go up front to rush the passer. So, they're a little banged up. If the Browns think that DTR is ready and they have a nice game plan in, they could run the football, and you got a dominant defense, they may say, look, the calculus is we feel we can keep the game close because we got the better defense. They got a lot of guys out. We're going to run the ball. And by the way, DTR, he started for 5 years at UCLA, and he got the majority of the passing reps. And when it comes to the preseason, so he sounds like a confident young guy who's had some success in the preseason, and he sounds like he's a mature guy and ready to go out there and be prepared to play. I think that may play a little role into it, whether or not you do have that bye coming up. But I will say Deshaun Watson is going to be kicking, fighting, and screaming to get back out there because he wants to continue to capitalize and build on that momentum he built in last game, especially if you got an opportunity to play a division rival like the Baltimore Ravens at home. I think Deshaun Watson will do everything in his power to get on the football field.
Yeah, agree with you wholeheartedly. Well, you mentioned Browns defense. They've been really good. They've been elite. Marcus Spears talked about the speed of that Browns defense as well as Myles Garrett. This from ESPN's NFL Live.
I'm glad you talked about team speed, RC, because they hunt, brother. And let me give people a little breakdown of what happens on the field in football. So the quarterback walks up to the line of scrimmage, and he says Mike 56 or Mike 47. And that's identifying where the Mike linebacker is, and you set all of your protection from there. When you play the Cleveland Browns, you got to say Mike 95. I don't care if Myles Garrett on the damn bench. You better make sure you identify where he at. Because the way he's playing right now, it don't matter who you identify if you don't identify him. The man is on a mission, and Jim Schwartz is doing a phenomenal job as well of him hunting the rabbit, meaning finding the weakest link offensive line-wise and putting him in those spots and letting him be able to dominate. We know that his strength and his physical ability, the way he gets off the ball, lends itself to being an edge player, but we've seen him in the middle of the line of scrimmage. We've seen him off the ball and obviously in his rightful place out there on the edge, man.
And I chuckle every time I hear him talk about that, but it's true.
Yeah, listen, they might have found something. I was talking to Quincy Carrier the other day, and we were laughing and joking about how they just slipped up and found something with Myles Garrett running back from sideline to sideline. I don't think people understand that. Like, I think Jim Schwartz is smart enough to continue to exploit that. But, DeMarcus Spears says, you come up to the line of scrimmage and you focus on who's the middle linebacker. That tells you where your protection scheme's at, where you want to move the ball, where you want to run. But what happens if you got a guy like Myles Garrett out there and you want to run towards Myles? That's the strength of the formation, right? What if you want to set that way? Well, if he was moving around and jumping back and forth, you don't know where their strength of the rush is coming from. Also, if he's going to play middle linebacker and move around and just be crazy and get a 3-yard head start on a secondary in a tackle or a guard, that's trouble. You can't do that either. So Myles Garrett now has put circumstances out there where if you're trying to just figure out where you're going to attack and how you're going to attack, how do you do that if the player that you're keying on, you don't know where he's going to be at? He's just doing what he wants. And sometimes these are types of things that can be really exploited. And people talk about it. Go back and watch that film a couple of years ago and watch what the Miami Dolphins did to the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens were hot coming into the game. Brian Flores decides that, you know what, everybody's going to stand up. Everybody's going to stand up, and we're going to blitz every single guy and figure out which guy's dropping, which guy's coming. And the Baltimore Ravens had their worst game of the year in a primetime game. So expect much more of that. Expect now not only him doing it, but Zadarius Smith getting an axe. I wouldn't be surprised if Obo is doing things like that. And now you can mix up where they're coming from, how they're going to move, and you could place a spy behind that where it's like, Lamar Jackson may think, oh, I got him because now I'm going to run over here because, Myles Garrett is here, but they don't know that JOK is spying them sideline to sideline. And that's the very difficult thing about the Browns defense. Put on top of that they got 3 sticky corners that stick to guys that play man-to-man coverage. And now you get the nightmare. You don't have very many people open. Guys can't get off the line of scrimmage. Your best guys ain't even playing in the game at receiver. And that spells a nightmare for Lamar Jackson. That's how good the Cleveland Browns defense is.
Yeah, and you're starting to see why they wanted all that versatility for their defensive line, their linebackers, and their secondary as well. Myles Garrett was asked today about being aggressive against this Ravens running attack.
The rushing game? Everybody knows the rushing game up there. It's got a number 8 on it. And then, those other guys are good as well, but that's really the cog or the engine that gets them going. He's the dynamo up there. I mean, those guys are good at running the ball. They want to knock out the ball. They want to give you a little window dressing and direct runs down your throat. But no, the threat is if you mess up, it's not just the running back you have to worry about. It's him going 30, just like the running back going 30. So it's just that two-headed monster in the backfield.
Jim was talking yesterday about continuing to be aggressive in attack as a defense and not really change because of Lamar. Is that different for you? It feels like in the past you said you had to modify your run because you don't want Lamar escaping.
Well, he don't care about that as much. He just says, go win. I'm going to go win.
And again, G. Bush, the thing with that is we're going to do what we do. We're going to dictate that. That's the mindset, and I love it.
Yeah, man. We a lot of times, it's just like two boxers, man. When you get in the ring and you're a boxer and you're a guy that wants to land, haymakers, and you're a guy that wants to land the uppercuts and the big right hands and the overhands, and you go into a battle against a guy who also wants to land those kind of jabs and land those kind of big punches, guess what? We just going to see who knock each other out first. Like, I'm not going to come in there and just be Floyd Mayweather. I'm not going to be sitting here working the jab game or go to the rope-a-dope or I'm going to work the body. No, like, this is what I do. You know what you're going to get. You're going to get a steady dose of it. And if you can beat it, right? They know Lamar Jackson wants to run. Myles Garrett understands fully well that Lamar Jackson can get outside the back end. He can get up the middle. He can run on design runs. He can run on scrambles, extended plays. He know what it is. He hasn't played him enough. But here's the difference. Lamar Jackson, we understand what that looks like. I don't think the Ravens understand what the Browns defense looks like. They have not played the Browns when they have this type of energy, effort, and this personnel. I think, we know exactly what to expect from him. I just don't know if the Baltimore Ravens are accustomed to seeing a defense do some of the things that I think they're going to do on Sunday. So, and I always have, confidence. Shirtless Myles Garrett usually spells that he's ready to play. And so when you got the shirtless Myles Garrett with the bandana around the neck, it's a different type vibe. I'm gonna go with 95.
Well, another guy that is liking what he sees is Micah Parsons, outstanding edge rusher for the Dallas Cowboys. This is from The Edge with Micah Parsons, where he ranks the Browns in the AFC.
3, we got to go with Cleveland. Cleveland's defense just wins championships. I mean, defense always wins championships. I don't care what no one says. Chiefs defense at the end of the day, they got that stop on Hurts and they won that game. So defense always wins championships. So I'm going to go with the Cleveland Browns. If Deshaun Watson could keep clicking and that defense could keep clicking, we're seeing a great Cleveland Brown team.
And again, G. Bush, I love when players talk because they see things the way they are. He doesn't have to be nice to the Browns. This is what he sees.
And shout out to Micah Parsons, by the way, man. First and foremost, for following your boy G. Bush on Twitter. Second of all, for getting yourself together. This is how you start your career early. Micah Parsons got a nice setup. I like your background. It's not the barbershop or anything yet, but I love when players set themselves up for their next career right now. And they could take some, jabs from people because, hey, they talking about their peers, right? People could get in their feelings and be upset that they ranked them a certain way. I've always given players credit for starting their platforms early, but I've got to agree with them. When you talk about the defense wins championships. And one of the things that we're going to see and get a great opportunity to see is if DTR has to play, and the Cleveland Browns can come out here and beat a Baltimore Ravens team and not have their quarterback involved, this is going to tell you that the Cleveland Browns are a special defensive team, right? Now you're going to set yourself up to come off a bye week, going against another top-notch, team organization in the San Francisco 49ers who sprinkle the run in all different ways. They run the ball with the receivers, the tight ends. Kyle Shanahan is creative. They do all Christian McCaffrey. They're going to come in here, and they also have a really formidable passing game as well. Now you look at what the Cleveland Browns were able to do. They were able to stop Joe Burrow in the 3 dynamic receivers week 1. You come back against in that last week and you get Derrick Henry, who is one of the most physical, dominating runners for the last 5 or 10 years in this league. Guess what? We shut him out. No points at all. Now, if you come out and shut down the most dynamic runner with his feet in Lamar Jackson, now you're saying that your defense can do it multiple ways. We can shut you in the passing game. We can shut your run game down. If you have variations, if you have scrambling quarterbacks, they're just adding different badges and adding different ways that they can beat you. And it'll be very impressive if they can do that this week, especially given the fact that the quarterback may not be 100% or playing.
Yeah, no question about it. All right, before we go to break, let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Dave, this is Doug in Houston. Lombardi had it wrong on Will Fuller. Will Fuller was hurt most of the time with the Houston Texans with DeAndre Hopkins. It was DeAndre Hopkins is who he was thinking of. DeAndre Hopkins was Watson's main weapon, and Will Fuller on the side, the second receiver when he was healthy. Okay, just wanted to mention that. Have a good one and go Browns. Goodbye.
Appreciate you. No, the point Michael Lombardi was making, Doug, was he needs a deep threat, and that was Will Fuller. Will Fuller averaged more yards per catch than DeAndre Hopkins did with Deshaun Watson each and every year. Take a look. 15.1, 28 catches in 2017. 15.7, 2018, 32 catches. 13.7 yards per catch in 2019 on 49 catches. And in 2020, that big year, he averaged over 16.5 yards per catch with 53 catches. G. Bush, that's why Andrew Berry went out and got Marquise Goodwin. That's why he went out and he got Elijah Moore. He's trying to find the guy that can unlock, the deep bass for him. But it wasn't DeAndre Hopkins. It was Will Fuller that did that.
Yeah, they had a lot of speed, and Brandon Cooks as well.
Yep.
They had guys that could both move on the outside. And when you got guys that can move like that, it opens the field up. And they've been trying to do that. They've been trying to get the ball down deep. They've been, using Marquise Goodwin. I think some of it is going to be a little more difficult because you don't have the dominant run game with Nick Chubb to kind of suck people up. And now you got one-on-one coverage in the back end. So to me, when you look at it, the only question mark that I have for the Cleveland Browns is what we're talking about right now. Where are you going to get the chunk plays from? Are you going to be able to have a deep threat where you don't have to move the ball down the field 10, 15 plays at a time to get points? They've done that in Houston because they had Brandon Cooks, Will Fuller. DeAndre Hopkins was more of the guy that was the number one receiver. He can go over the middle. He can get to contested catches, not necessarily a burner. Here in Cleveland, we have probably a little the same. Amari Cooper, number one guy, possession, works across route running, all those good things. But he's not necessarily a guy that really is going to threaten you deep. So, Anthony Schwartz didn't work out. You still have Marquise Goodwin, who I'm hoping to develop. And the guy that we've been waiting on is Elijah Moore. And I've seen them kind of using him more of a West Coast type receiver where they're using his short passing game as an extension of the run game. Hopefully they can work out where he can get vertical and do some things. So that's the only question mark for me offensively is where do those big chunk plays come from? And are they going to be able to hook up with someone with some real deep speed to really threaten defenses?
G. Bush and I are going to step aside, take a quick timeout. Other side of the break, we'll continue talking Browns. Sports for CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns with G. Bush from 92.3 The Fans, The Barbershop, as well as the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hey, guys. When we send our defense against Baltimore this Sunday, I'm hoping Jim Schwartz has his rushers swipe repeatedly at the football while Lamar Jackson is in the pocket, hopefully causing multiple strip sacks. He tends to hold the ball like it's a loaf of bread. The only thing this defense hasn't thrived on is turnovers. Let's make Lamar's day as miserable as possible, forcing him to worry about ball security, so much so that it disrupts the rest of his game. We can let it all hang out this week with the bye week around the corner. Go Browns!
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. G. Bush, again, I think they focus on that, but you don't want to get too crazy. If you're looking at turnovers, which the defense hasn't done, as Jim Schwartz said yesterday, you're kind of nitpicking because that defense, they haven't done anything wrong, really. 71-yard pass play against them, that's the only thing you can say, that wasn't great.
Yeah, listen, I'm right with Jim Schwartz on this one. I think people tend to try to look for something to talk about when you're playing the best that your defense has played, to me, in decades, and have the pieces, the parts they have. One of the things that you want to do is even the playing field a little bit. There's always something in the back of your mind. Well, we could get better at this, or well, we could do this a little bit better. But in reality, if you don't get any turnovers are a function of, I won't say they're completely luck. Turnovers are something you try to get, but turnovers are a cyclical thing. Turnovers are year to year. Just because you got the turnovers this year did not necessarily mean you're going to get those same turnovers next year. It's just like bullpens. You got one of the best bullpens in the game, and guess what? Next year, your closer might not be lights out, and you may blow a couple of saves and runs with some of your relief pitchers. So for people to kind of like drill down on, turnovers and takeaways are awesome, but I also like secure tackles where we're not trying to strip the ball. We try to get guys on the floor, on the turf. If you can secure tackles and you're not letting yards after catch go, if you're playing good solid coverage, you're getting sacks and you're making guys punt, I'm all for saying, look, listen, if they want to go 3 and out, fine. We'll take the ball back, play field position game. The turnovers will come, and those turnovers usually come by you being aggressive, by you being by the football, running to the football, gang tackling, and being aggressive. And so all those things are things that the Browns are doing. And I think with that being said, the turnovers will come because they're doing the fundamental things that cause turnovers, which is that energy and that effort and that mindset.
So this is from ESPN's Get Up. Kimberly Martin talked about the Browns defense, what they want to do. Dan Orlovsky, what he has seen from this Ravens offense.
A work in progress.
Yeah.
Does it look like something that is going to be great?
Absolutely. Week 1, I said the timing's got to get there between the trust and the pass game. Week 2, it was there. And then week 3, it wasn't because Odell got hurt and then the left tackle, Ronnie Stanley's not there. They're not necessarily on the same page. And I would agree with Kimberly's point that Zay Flowers said they blew it. They did. Drops and lack of execution in the most important moments. The weather certainly played a conversation. They got to get to the point where Zay Flowers is the guy that is almost used in the way that Percy Harvin used to be, where they would get him the ball, but then they would throw it downfield to him. OBJ's got to get healthy. Bateman, there needs to be that consistency for the pass game. Is it capable? 100%.
This game is about Lamar, but for me, it's about this Browns defense that I've covered for a very long time. Talking to Zadarius Smith, he's like, the difference with this team now is we got some badasses. And Jim Schwartz coaches us to be that. It is straight chaos. They want to flush QBs out the pocket, make it messy, and make sure that their secondary holds up. But do you want Lamar outside? Do you want him scrambling around?
And I'll say this. I think the only unit that can compare with them that's confident like the Browns right now is the Miami Dolphins offense. That's the only unit I can say that feels confident about their guys making plays.
And G. Bush, I can't argue with any of that. I think that was pretty spot on.
Yeah, listen, that's why I laughed all the time. I don't know how to talk about the Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson, this thing is just, I don't know what to, listen, I said, don't worry about Deshaun Watson. You have to talk about all these other dudes that we got on defense that's smoking you guys every single week. Look, that's the part that everybody, that's undeniable. That's undeniable. Right now, when you look at it, when you hold people to 3 points in a game, like, come on, this is the NFL. This is the type of stuff. The league is built around quarterbacks and throwing the football. Heck, the Miami Dolphins got 70 points. Like, I'm like, is this Colorado State versus the University of Miami or something? Because teams don't get 70 points, but that's the way the rules are set up. So when you say we're going to give up 12 points to the Steelers, we don't even let them over 50-yard line. When people are getting minus 78 total yards against a pro team, let that sink in. And when you're doing that in the way that they're doing it, you know, that confidence becomes infectious. Now, it was bad enough that you got Myles Garrett feeling that way. Look at the guys that have played their tails off. I think Denzel Ward is playing the best football I've seen him play in a very long time. Grant Delpit is having a career year. JOK went from looking like he was lost, didn't know how to read his keys, to now this guy's flying over the field. Look, you know, guys are showing up, showing out, and when this thing gets rolling, it's very tough to really score points on the Cleveland Browns. And I think this game will show that it's just not a one-hit wonder. This is something that's repeatable, reproducible, and I think that this will be the storyline of the season for the Browns.
So John Harbaugh, the Ravens head coach, talked about what he has seen with this Browns defense under Jim Schwartz.
Coach Schwartz has his system. It's kind of Greg Williams' system. They've been in that system before with Greg Williams, obviously. But Jim does it how he does it. You know, he's a decorated veteran defensive coordinator in this league. Does a great job, always has, and he's put his stamp on it for sure.
It looks like their run defense, you know, on early downs, not afraid to set those edge rushers up to the wide nine and still get the run. What sticks out to you about how they're able to do everything despite more aggressive posture?
Well, that posture is also built to stop the run. It's not just a posture. It's not built to stop the run. They have a way of playing the run, and that's how they do it. We played that way in Philadelphia with Jim Johnson over the years, and it's a defensive type of style that's been around for quite a long time, and they're very good at it. And they got, as you said, they got excellent players, and they're playing really hard and well, and we respect them.
I didn't see the correlation to Greg Williams. Maybe it's because of the safety that was playing so far off the line of scrimmage, but they don't blitz. I mean, they're aggressive. I would say they're aggressive like Greg Williams' defense, but I don't see that.
Maybe that's what he meant.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe we're giving the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he just like, listen, I let my offensive guys figure that out. I'm trying to, but yeah, that's not the Greg Williams defense. I mean, Greg Williams' defense had guys playing all in the muni lot, you know, and then on top of it, Greg Williams was infamously told Myles Garrett, I don't want to see you do nothing but one move. Listen, you're gonna use this move. I don't want to see nothing else. Now, if there couldn't be any, the distance between what, they're telling Myles Garrett he can do now, and then what Greg Williams was telling him he could do is the difference between here and Jupiter. It's just night and day. Like, not only did Greg Williams really not play a wide nine, the way they had their secondary, they did blitz a lot of people, but it's just, to me, it's two totally different defense. I'll give Coach the benefit of the doubt. I think he was talking about the aggressive nature. Maybe that's what he meant when he reminds me a little bit of Greg Williams. But this team is different, and I think he one thing I do agree with, and I think he was smart for acknowledging it, is they got better players. They're fast. They're playing well right now. And I think he learned from Jamar Chase. He's like, I'm not gonna poke the bear right now. The Browns are light us out on defense. Hey, forget all the rest of the stuff. We might want to just be quiet and play the game.
What do you expect? I expect a low-scoring game, and I think right now I can't imagine a team finds a way to score enough to beat the Browns. That's just kind of the way I feel about it.
I had the Browns scoring higher if Deshaun Watson played in the game. If Deshaun Watson plays, I got to score more around 27-13. I still got him winning 20-13 if DTR is the quarterback. I just think right now, until proven otherwise, the Browns defense is not going to give up 20 points in the game, and it's going to be very difficult to beat them if you don't get 17, 20 points. Because they've run this offense where they still do a good job of moving the sticks, moving the chains, getting timely runs, and Kevin Stefanski is comfortable playing that way. So if they do have to change the playbook, there's not much that I think is going to be left on the table. I got the Browns winning this football game.
I do as well. G. Bush, as always, appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, G. Bush.
Appreciate you.
G. Bush, make sure you check him out. 92.3 The Fans, The Barber Shop. You can catch him Saturdays 8 until noon. You can also catch him Monday through Friday on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. We're going to step aside, take a quick timeout. Tyler Johnson on the other side of the break. We continue talking Browns.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns on Sports4CLE. Myles Garrett and Elijah Moore talked about Deshaun Watson's availability for Sunday's game against the Ravens, as well as Dorian Thompson-Robinson potentially making his first start.
We think he'll play, but if he doesn't, we just have to up our intensity just one more notch.
What you've seen, again, Kevin's going to play too, but what you've seen of DTR in training camp and preseason games, if he has to step in there in this big game, what do you expect from him?
I expect him to be ready.
Yeah, we just heard the news too. I know it's a questionable thing, but I guess that's just a him and coach type of decision. We got to focus on us. I got to prepare the same way I always prepare, and I know everyone's going to do the same.
What is the confidence level in Dorian if he's the one that has to go?
Like I say every week, he doesn't have a choice to step in those shoes. At the end of the day, football is that type of sport. It's always next man up.
We had just gotten done talking to DTR. Just what have you seen from him as a young player, rookie coming in here? As far as his growth, he had mentioned, hey, this was the first time I got to run with the ones this week in practice.
I know he's excited. I know he's a super consistent person. You see him in here, he does his diligence. And I feel like we have all the confidence in the world. If he were to do the step in, I feel like it would be time for him to spin.
With that, let's welcome in Tyler Johnson from the Faithful Dawgs podcast, as well as Network 216. And Tyler, you look at bye week, the week after the Ravens, so that all figures into the decision. If there's any doubt, you probably err on the side of caution for the Browns long term.
Yeah, Dave. For me personally,
this is a huge game. I mean, you're talking about the opportunity to be 2-1 in your division and potentially be in the lead in the AFC North going into your bye week. So, I mean, it's a huge game. There's no doubt about that. I think kind of like you said, though, if this could possibly linger, I feel more comfortable resting him because not only does he get this week off, he gets the bye week, and you're talking nearly 3 weeks of recovery before he would start another game. I think that would be very beneficial for him. It does sound like Mary Kay Cabot said that she spoke with Watson and he made it sound like he was going to play and that there's no structural damage or his shoulder wasn't dislocated or anything along those lines. He has full range of motion. So it sounds like it really is just sore, but the way that he's practiced this week, barely practicing, it almost makes you kind of like wonder why not start DTR in this game because he's had all the reps this week. Like, and I know some would say Watson hurt is better than DTR healthy. At the same time, if you're an NFL quarterback, and we saw it last week with Joe Burrow and the Bengals, Joe Burrow doesn't practice much during the week, and then he gets to game day, and the Bengals did beat the Rams, but he didn't look very good. He looked out of sync. I know, again, he was injured, different injury, but the same thing applies. You still need practice reps during the week. So that's kind of my biggest worry. If he does play on Sunday, is he even going to look great? I mean, he might look rusty because he hasn't practiced all week. So, yeah, I personally rather err on the side of caution, but at the end of the day, if Deshaun tells you he's ready to go, we know he's one of the toughest quarterbacks in the league. He hasn't missed a game since he tore his ACL with the Texans. So if he tells you he's good to go, I think Kevin Stefanski would trust it and put him out there against the Ravens.
Yeah, and as you alluded to, the advantage is Dorian Thompson-Robinson has gotten a lot of reps during the week with that first-team offense. Take a look at this. This is from Next Gen Stats. David Njoku, the only player in the NFL to average 4.5 plus yards of separation with a catch percentage higher than 90%. 11 targets. In week 3, though, is too low for a guy who's 5th in the NFL in yards after catch per reception. And that's an area historically where Deshaun Watson has thrived, is getting the ball to his tight ends.
Yeah, the David Njoku, not having him very much involved, you wonder if that is because the offense really up until last week hadn't really looked that great. And so I think we're going to start seeing him unleashed more moving forward. But I talked about this on our show on Wednesday night. David Njoku right now, you have Elijah Moore and Amari Cooper are tied in the lead with targets at 25 each. David Njoku has 11 targets. That's 14 less than Cooper and Moore. And I'm not saying that he needs to have lead the team in targets, but he is such a mismatch nightmare for defenses and the athleticism that he has at the tight end position. There aren't a lot of linebackers that can cover him straight up. You don't really want to use a slot corner on him because he's bigger than them. And there might be a few safeties in the league that can actually match up with David Njoku. He needs to become a more focal point to this offense because I think if he is, you're only going to see this offense take another step forward. He's just that big of a matchup nightmare. And quite frankly, when you're paying him the type of money that you are, I'd love to see him do more than just block. Now, that said, David Njoku's blocking is night and day than when he first came in the NFL. I mean, he is now one of the better run-blocking tight ends in the NFL, and it's awesome to see the work that he has put in and how good he has gotten at run blocking. But unleash him in this offense. Let Deshaun Watson use that mismatch to his advantage. And you know what? If David Njoku gets unleashed, the sky is the limit for this offense because I think right now you just need that third guy to take some of the pressure off Elijah Moore and Amari Cooper. And nothing against Donovan Peoples-Jones, but I think David Njoku is really the key to unlocking this offense moving forward.
You mentioned his run blocking. How concerned are you about the running game minus Nick Chubb?
I'm kind of concerned because Jerome Ford, now he is averaging 3.9 yards per carry right now, and that's all right. I mean, it's not great. It's not, of course, Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is the best running back in the league. You're going to feel that loss all year, no matter what. But against the Titans, he just didn't do much against the Titans, which was concerning. He did have 2 touchdowns, receiving and a rushing touchdown. He had 10 carries for 18 yards. And I know he only had 10 carries, but he averaged less than 2 yards per carry. Against Cincinnati, he averaged 2.4 yards a carry. And keep in mind, against Cincinnati, some of those were in garbage time, and he still averaged 2.4 yards a carry. If you take away the run against the Steelers, he barely averaged 3 yards a carry in that game. So I've been very underwhelmed so far with Jerome Ford. And again, he's got a couple touchdowns, which you do like to see that. But if Jerome Ford doesn't start picking it up, Kareem Hunt might become a bigger part of this offense sooner rather than later. And even Kareem Hunt didn't look great on Sunday, but keep in mind, he hasn't played all year. So I expect some rust from him. But the guy I want to see a little bit more of moving forward, and again, it was just in garbage time. I liked what Pierre Strong did, though, on Sunday. I think he brings a different dimension to this offense. He's a different type of runner. He's more of a speed back. But I think you can use him in some read option looks with Deshaun Watson, some RPOs. I think that's going to unlock more of the offense because you have that home run threat at running back. I don't think Jerome Ford is a home run threat at running back, and I don't think Kareem Hunt is either. So I'd like to see Pierre Strong get more involved in this offense, only because I think you really need that speed component to the run game too.
Yeah, I think it's going to end up being a piecemeal where you're going to kind of mix and match together based on who you're playing and the way you play. The Titans won't be the same way you play the Ravens, won't be the same way you play the Steelers. So Ravens coming up. We've heard from Jim Schwartz relative to the plan for Lamar Jackson. They're not going to do anything than what they usually do, which is try to get after the quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what I want to hear because we know how good Lamar Jackson is. There's no doubt in my mind. Lamar Jackson is a fantastic football player. The big thing for the Ravens, though, Dave, going into this week, how healthy are they going to be? They have missed a lot of players these last couple weeks, and you saw against the Colts. That was a game I don't know if they were trying to sit some guys to be ready for this week and thought they were just going to win that game, but they didn't look great against the Colts. You now have, it looks like Odell Beckham Jr. is not going, he hasn't practiced all week. Neither has Rashad Bateman, Marlon Humphrey, Odafe Owe, David Ajabo. So those right there, you're looking at 5 starters potentially that the Ravens are going to be without. Ronnie Stanley, who their fantastic left tackle, he practiced limited, and then he didn't practice today due to a knee injury. So it makes you wonder, how healthy are they going to be going into this game? And if I'm the Browns defense, I want them to be aggressive, and I expect them to, from time to time, when you're aggressive, make some mistakes doing that. But I'd rather have my defense be aggressive than just sit back and kind of letting Lamar pick them apart in his own defense, because we know one thing. The Browns are going to get after the quarterback, and to beat this defense or to even have some success, you got to get the ball out quick. And if you can't do that against this defense, it's going to be a long day. Lamar has always done pretty well against the Browns when it comes to scoring touchdowns, but he has not played this defense yet. I can't wait to see that battle because I think Lamar's one of the best players in the NFL. I really do. And if you can limit Lamar in this game, the Ravens won't have a chance because I think Lamar Jackson is their run game once again with J.K. Dobbins out for the year. And the pass game is still a work in progress for Baltimore. So I think I'm really confident in this defense, but it will be their biggest test so far this year.
Yeah, and there's an opportunity there for the Browns without question, as we had alluded to earlier. Tyler Johnson, Faithful Dogs Podcast Network 216, as always. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Tyler.
Anytime, Dave. Thank you.
Tyler Johnson, make sure you check him out, Faithful Dogs Podcast, as well as Network 216. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, Lance Reisland from the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com, with some video breakdown of some of the matchups with this Browns-Ravens game. Sports4CLE, be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns, getting ready for that game against the Ravens Sunday, 1 o'clock at Cleveland Browns Stadium, a battle of 2-1 teams. Time to take a video analysis, film breakdown, looking at some of the matchups. Whenever we do that, we welcome in Lance Reisland from the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. And Lance, it's a battle, an early battle, but a battle for first place, at least a portion of it in the AFC North.
Well, yeah, and I think it's two really good defenses. I think Ravens historically have played really good defense, and they have kind of a model they like to think with their size of their defensive tackles. They have two outstanding linebackers. Their secondary's beat up, and I think it has a lot to do with injuries. Have a lot to do with this game. I know they got their left tackle Stanley back, their center Linderbaum back. They got to get some guys back, or it's going to be a tough matchup for them against a really talented Browns team that seems to be playing really well. Assuming they get their guys back, there's some matchups that are going to be really good this week.
So one of the guys who's been banged up, who did practice yesterday, as a matter of fact, safety Kyle Hamilton. Take us through this first clip, what we see from Hamilton and what they like to do with him.
Well, two things to see. Well, first of all, last week he's in the backfield a bunch. He had 3 sacks. He's all over the field, and he kind of has that. He kind of has a similar skill set of like a Delpit, where he's very good down along the line of scrimmage. He's a very good athlete. He's a great tackler. He's very physical. He can do a bunch of different things. He can cover a bunch of different people. This is what he does really well. So he's going to come off the edge here, and they do this a lot with him. And they create 3-on-2 matchups both in the run game and the pass game. And he is so good at coming off the edge. He's very strong. He has a pretty good pass rush plan for a secondary guy when he's rushing the passer. Like I said, he had 3 sacks last week. But this is where he's really good. So the Browns, when they're running the ball and when he's coming on a blitz, have to find him because he's very good and he'll cause havoc for the Browns offense.
So a young guy was dealing with a back injury, but as I mentioned, back at practice. So trending like he will be playing against the Browns, Kyle Hamilton. Now, another clip, we see him in the run game. He shows up in the passing game on that defense as well.
So here's where I think the Browns might have somewhat of an advantage just because of their skill players. So this is Josh Downs, really good rookie out of North Carolina, very twitchy and sudden in the slot. Now Hamilton's a big guy, 6'4", he's over 200 pounds, he's really fast. If he has one maybe area of weakness, it would be that short area of quickness against these short, twitchy guys, kind of like Elijah Moore from the Browns. So I think what the Browns got to do is they got to try to get him in space because when he covers a guy, he's pretty good. When he comes off the edge, he's pretty good. But this in space with RPOs and quick outs and option routes and things of that nature, crossing routes across the field, I think the Browns. This is where the Browns, I think, can get him. He's really good in pass too, but this is where his weakness is, and I think getting him out of the box is key for the Browns this week to have success on offense.
So, again, a really good young player, Kyle Hamilton, safety for the Ravens. Now, you made the note here, Browns cannot abandon the run game. Take us through this clip and what we see here.
Well, two things happen. One is they've got, Nick Chubb is obviously gone for the year, and that's a huge loss. So what the Browns can't do is they can't become pass happy. And I know they're going to throw the ball a bunch, but the strength of their offensive line is still the run game. So they have to kind of marry both of them together. Now, the Ravens are monstrous inside. And as I talked about when we first started, they have kind of a model of how they like to do things. So they got guys like Pierce inside and Matabuke and Travis Jones. These guys are all 350 300 pounds, 350 pounds, and they just kind of occupy space. And what they do is they occupy the linemen for their linebackers. And their linebackers, both their linebackers, are very, very explosive. They make tons of tackles, and they're very good. Queen, Robert Smith, they just do a really good Raquan Smith of getting tackles. They both have 12 tackles last week. They have 30 for the season. But where I think you can get these guys a little bit is on the edge. Not outside because they run well, but on the edge, that right outside the tight end, that six hole or the C gap. So with the Browns, with their outside zone, with their counter game, I think that's where they can attack. Moss for the Colts last week had 130 carries, and it was in that area. This is just a split zone where Equa doesn't do a real good job of securing the edge and setting the edge, and they get outside of him here. this is where I think the Browns can make hay. I don't think they can do much between the tackles because they're so big and these linebackers, but I think they can do some work on the edge here.
Well, the other thing that the Ravens matchup brings to mind is the quarterback, Lamar Jackson. A new offensive coordinator, Todd Monken, who was here with the Browns. What have you seen from Lamar Jackson when you look at him with Todd Monken's offense?
Well, Todd Monken out of Georgia does a great job. He's very similar to Schwartz in terms of he's going to find a matchup he really likes, and he's going to attack that matchup. And it could be with backs out of the backfield. It could be with a slot. It could be with a guy outside. But he's a guy who's going to find a matchup. What he's done is I think he's a big improvement from what the Ravens did. That being said, I thought Greg Roman, who's kind of takes some heat, I thought Greg Roman did a great job of maximizing Jackson's skill set in the run game. But what Monken is doing, Monken is giving Jackson a great opportunity to show how good he is in the pass game as well. Lamar Jackson does not get enough credit for his ability to process information, his ability to use his arm in the pocket. Plus, they're in more spread sets this year. And when you're in spread sets, you get what I think is the hardest quarterback run to stop, which is the scramble on third downs. And, he makes it so hard. And with them spread out and teams like to play in man, this could be a problem for the Browns because Schwartz likes to play man coverage, and the Browns could get caught playing man on scrambles. I think what they got to do is they got to stop the quarterback run. They got to stop the design quarterback runs. They got to contain him in the pocket, maybe use Delpit, JOK, and try to contain him and make him a pocket passer because as good as he is in the pocket, he's even better on the run, and you got to take your chances with him in the pocket, in my opinion.
All right, so this first clip that we see with Lamar Jackson, what are we seeing in this one?
No, you're getting a spread set here. And what this is counter bash. So actually, the tailback Drake is actually going to run jet sweep to the boundary here, and Lamar Jackson is reading that front side DN. If that front side DN stays, which he does, he just pulls it and runs quarterback counter. Now, what this does is give you an opportunity when you have a running quarterback to run two plays at once. So if that end was to chase him, he would just give to Drake, and then they would have a number advantage on the outside. But what really makes this good compared to when Greg Roman was here, Monken's given him an opportunity to have things spread out so he can see things a little bit more clear. There's not so many inside the box. This will allow him to get down, not take so many hits. But this is what Todd Monken is doing. He's brought this element of spread, throwing from the pocket, and maximizing not just Lamar Jackson's ability to run, but his ability to run and pass. This is where I think Lamar Jackson is the best, when he's out, when he can improvise. I think the Browns got to try, like I said, keep him in the pocket and make him be a vertical pass thrower.
And again, tackling obviously going to become really important. I would imagine Delpit and Owusu-Koramoah will be guys that have the ability to potentially match up against Lamar Jackson. You mentioned that, so making him a pocket passer. Let's take a look at this next clip. What do you see here?
Well, here's what you got. So here, now he's in the pocket. Now you got a little bit of a chance. So they're 3rd and 4. Monken has brought in more spread. So now that they're in an empty set, they got to get some injury. Now I think Stanley's coming back. Like I said, he's gonna really have his hands full with Myles Garrett and the rest of those guys inside if they leave him alone. Now getting him and Linderbaum back at center is really important. But he's coming off an injury, a lower leg injury. So anytime you come off a lower leg injury, you got to block Myles Garrett. That could be a problem. However, I think what the Browns got to do also is they have to take away the quick passing game. Lamar Jackson this year is completing 73% of his passes because they get the ball out quick. I see the Browns kind of pressing, making him throw the ball vertical downfield and not giving him those easy throws, those easy screens, those easy quick hitches, slants, speed outs. I see the Browns pressing with their good corners and making him beat them deep. When those percentage of throws are a lot lower than these, hitches and things like that he's been throwing. So I see the Browns pressing, getting home with trying to make him throw the ball vertical. And when you throw the ball vertical, you got to hold a bit longer, and that D-line gets home.
When you look at what the Browns are likely to do, who are some guys that are going to be, we've heard Jim Schwartz earlier in the week talking about, it's not one guy. Who are some guys that are going to be keys if the Browns are going to at least contain and not let Lamar Jackson take over the game?
Well, I think Schwartz does a really good job is that he does not give in. So most teams are going to say, we're going to control pass rush. We're going to keep him in front, which, works for some teams. I don't think that's Jim Schwartz. I don't think that's his mentality. So I do think they will spy. I do think they will have, I think they have the athletes, JOK, Delpit, those guys who can spy, especially on third down situations. But they're going to bring the fight to Jackson. And that's what a lot of teams don't do. A lot of teams try to contain him. Guys like Lamar Jackson, guys like Josh Allen, they're going to make their plays. These elite quarterbacks are going to make their plays. What they're not going to do, what the Browns are not going to do, and Schwartz is not going to do, he's not going to sit back. And if you look at some of the running quarterbacks have struggled when teams try to pressure them. So I think Schwartz is going to do what Schwartz does. I think he's going to take those 4 guys. He's going to move them around. He's going to put Obo, Zadarius, Miles. They're going to be in different spots like they've been, the 3, the 5, the 9, the backer. And they're going to pressure, and they're going to make Lamar Jackson make throws, and then they're going to rally to the ball when he runs because they run very well. But I don't see the Browns sitting back and try to contain him like a lot of teams do. They're going to bring the fight to him.
Yeah, I would agree wholeheartedly. Lance Reisland, is always great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Lance.
As always, thanks for having me.
Lance Reisland, make sure you check it out. Always really good film breakdown, video analysis, cleveland.com. We're going to step aside, take one more time out. Other side of the break, we'll hear more about the Ravens-Browns matchup. Sports for CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns on Sports 4 CLE. Nick Chubb underwent his knee surgery at University Hospitals with team physician Dr. James Voos today. He now begins the process of rehabilitating and getting back to number 24 so he can join the Browns, hopefully, in time for training camp next season. Well, former defensive back for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Ryan Clark, on what he has seen from the Browns defense so far this season.
Let's talk about this Browns defense. They deserve some love. Why have they been so good to start the season?
Because they some real life killers. Period, point blank. It's exactly what Jim Schwartz just said. We're not looking at Lamar Jackson, and because Lamar Jackson is over there, we're going to play on our heels. They got a team full of people that act like Bud Crawford. They coming right at you, and they are not stopping. We know that Myles Garrett is up for the MVP or Defensive Player of the Year already, but on the back end, it's the fact that your linebackers are running sideline to sideline, playing in the passing game. There is no player playing the cornerback position that is playing better than Denzel Ward is at this time. And watching a guy like Grant Delpit show you why he won the Jim Thorpe Award when he was at LSU. They do everything fast, they do it mean, and they do it with bad intentions. And that's exactly what Jim Schwartz was alluding to when talking about approaching Lamar Jackson.
And again, that's the hallmarks of a Jim Schwartz defense. Ryan Clark, guy that understands what he is seeing with the Browns defense. He was a defensive back for the Pittsburgh Steelers for a number of years. So earlier in the week, Roquan Smith made some interesting comments just about coming into Cleveland and beating the Browns in front of their family and friends. So Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, Anthony Walker, both responded to what they heard from Roquan Smith.
You go in there as the enemy to go take over, and that's our plan, to actually go take over. I think they call it the dog pound. I consider myself a dog, so I'm right at home in that place. So I'm excited to get back in there, and I know they're a physical football team, but so are we. And at the end of the day, it's going to be the most physical football team that comes out of there, and whoever is the most physical football team in that game, that's who's going to come out victorious. And at the end of the day, you're considered the bad guy because you're going into essentially another man's house, and you're trying to take over, like his wife, kids, everyone there to watch them. So we going over to beat their tails in front of their wife and kids. So when you think about it from that perspective, like any man's going to, fight to the death from that point. I know if that's me me in that case, I know I would. So I think about it from that standpoint, and I'm just going in, just like I prepare for any other game. Play to the whistle, play physical, and hit anything that moves.
Well, this is our job. This is our livelihood. We're blessed to play in the NFL each week. We got an opportunity to play a game this Sunday. We don't need any extra motivation, but we always appreciate it.
I really didn't watch too much of it. I seen just a small clip of it. Didn't look into the details of it, to be honest. I mean, guys say things. They're able to push themselves out there in a certain way, and I guess that's the way that he wants to be presented. But I leave it to the offense to deal with it.
And again, nothing ever good comes from making statements like that. So again, Browns heard it. They know what's said. We'll see what happens Sunday. Former NFL defensive back Jason McCourty on which NFL team he thinks will make a statement win in Week 4. This is from NFL Network's Good Morning Football.
Pass me this hat in the background with the orange and the brown. Right there, yes, I'm rolling with the Cleveland Browns statement win going against the Baltimore Ravens. They are at home. We talked about it earlier in the show, how the defense is playing absolutely lights out, record-setting the way they're playing on defense. Myles Garrett, one of the best players in the league on the defense side. The pressure, everything he's doing. And then Deshaun Watson last week had his best game as a Cleveland Brown. They're coming into town, the Baltimore Ravens. This is going to be a fun one. It's going to be hostile. The dog pound is going to be ready to go. I think the Cleveland Browns have a statement win on the season this Sunday.
Opportunity is there. They could end up 3-1, 2-1 in the division heading into the bye. Tough game after the bye with the 49ers, and then the schedule lightens up a little bit. So an important game without question. Browns-Ravens, 1 o'clock. We'll see if Deshaun Watson is able to go. Before we leave you, DJ Hazmat, you know him from his weekend air shifts on WZAK 93.1 FM here in town. Huge Browns fan. Weeknights, you can also catch him on Dish Nation. We figured perfect way to end the week would be to look back with him at the win the Browns had last Sunday against the Tennessee Titans.
Let me hear you say, ooh, ha, oh yeah, ooh, ha, oh yeah, ooh, ha, oh yeah, hey, hey, ha, oh yeah. Everywhere we go, people wanna know who we whooped on, so we tell them, we beat the Titans, the Tennessee Titans, we beat down the Titans, the Tennessee Titans. It was a Sunday afternoon in the land, clear skies, it was perfect weather. Our defense was looking amazing, and Deshaun was playing much better. After all the criticism we were giving him, he didn't fold from the pressure. So I gotta give credit where credit is due, and believe me, it is my pleasure. See, cause I'm an emotional diehard fan, and I don't wanna rap about losses. I'd rather talk about him throwing 2 TD passes, making no mistakes that would cost us. How we bossed up, and finally resembled the player we saw in his Houston days. Throwing for 289 and escaping like Harry Houdini, extending plays. But Kevin, I'm still on the fence with your call, and using Elijah too many ways. That double reverse, flea flicker to screen, please don't call that play in any phase. Yeah, got a first down, but who were we playing? Remember the Titans. The next reverse got shut down, so please chill with the trickeration, alright, man? Cause we don't really gotta use gadget plays for this offense to be super. Referee stole one from Amari cause they were not hanging with Mr. Cooper. And Jerome Ford went for 2 scores, a run and the catch skills activated. Kareem Hunt back in uniform, it was nice to see him getting acclimated. As a Brown, it was Watson's best performance. This week he can silence all the hating. Went 27 for 33, besides that backwards pass, he was dominating. And I ripped him last song, I was hating out of frustration cause I'm tired of waiting. This week he gets an exoneration from the Monday Night Football abomination. Cause they came to the land with Tannehill, Jimmy sick miles on him. 3.5 sacks, yeah, Garrett was getting wild on him. Alex and Agbanya made it 5-0. And Hopkins hit from 52. Our defense shining so bright. Jim Schwartz got that unit looking so nice. Shut Tennessee down, that's what we like. 94 total yards, that got me hype. Watson redeemed himself from Monday night. Just keep playing like that and we'll be alright. Okay, Deshaun, now that's more like it. Now that's more like it. Your game was on, that's how we like it. That's how we like it. Let me hear you say, everywhere we go, people wanna know, who we whooped on, so we tell them, we beat the Titans, the Tennessee Titans, we beat down the Titans, the Tennessee Titans, oh yeah.
Again, DJ Hazmat, 93.1 FM. Make sure you subscribe to his YouTube channel. Does them for all the Browns games. We plan on having him on with us occasionally. It's Hey Has TV. Hey Has TV. Subscribe to his YouTube channel. It's going to do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. We will see you back here Monday at 4 o'clock talking about the Browns and Ravens game. Have a great weekend, everybody. See you Monday at 4 on Sports for CLE.